show. First, before we get started, I want to apologize to our more liberal viewers. I know what the title said, however, I'm afraid it just isn't true. Now, before you get all bent out of shape and turn off the video and go on to something else, please stay a minute and hear this one out because what we're trying to do is wake you up. Okay, there's a lot of disinformation out there, and a lot of misinformation out there in the media and on the internet. And so, first, let's look at a couple things here. Now, one thing you'll notice is that I will have a lot of pictures on this video. Some of my videos really do have a lot of pictures on them, but it's not just. So you'll have me speaking in the background, talking about my thoughts and views on things, and what I've noticed, and what I've researched and everything for my commentaries. But also, I put these particular pictures up, and I do this with all my videos because they're relevant to the discussion at hand. So everything that you see here is basically something to get you going, something to get you thinking. So let's start with looking at the political spectrum. Okay, for those of you that don't know, the political spectrum basically is like this. It's basically a line that tells you where. So this explains where the left and the right come from. It's basically left side of the spectrum is one ideology or series of ideologies, and the right is another series of ideologies. Now, the right, yes, is more conservative, but they're more into, if you go further right, more into more freedom, more liberty for the individual person, basically ending in total freedom. Anarchy, mob rule. That's never a good thing, but neither is the flip side of that. Now, the mainstream media will have you thinking that socialism is a good thing. Yeah, see how well it worked in Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. Now, the mainstream media will throw a bunch of news stories that are completely irrelevant and kind of silly your way to basically keep you busy. It's a tactic the ancient Romans used. Basically, they would hold sporting events, actually like we do today, in entertainment, theater, you name it, basically to keep the masses entertained while they wouldn't pay attention to what the government was actually doing to them or against them, or what the emperors were doing, um, basically behind their back or right in front of their face. So basically, history repeats itself. So what you're seeing the extreme left doing, they've actually gotten to the point where they are lying, cheating, manipulating everything to your face. And the mainstream media has gone from reporting the news over the last 20 years to making the news. And the global elites have gone from working in the background to working right, to basically exposing themselves, letting you know this is what they're going to do. They are telling you that they are going to enslave you. They are telling you they really don't want you guys here, and they're gonna try and decrease the population. They are telling you this, but they are doing it in such a nice, rosy way that when you actually tell people the cold, hard truth, they don't want to believe it. And so you can't just watch the mainstream media because hell, the mainstream media had everybody. If you would have taken for what they were saying instead of actually doing your own research, they would have had you thinking that Hillary Clinton was going to win the election. In fact, that's what they were doing. They came out with incredibly erroneous polls. You cannot poll 800 or 1,000 people in one particular area, hence in this case like a liberal stronghold like New York or out in California, and think you're going to get a good a polling sample of 256 million people nationwide. So, that's why all the polls are wrong. The media wants you to think that they're always telling the truth. That's absolutely bullshit. They are not telling you the truth. They haven't for a long time, especially when it comes to politics. They are pushing their own very liberal, very socialist, very communist agenda, um, just like the Democrats. Democrats and the liberals are, by all means, they have stated that they want to take your rights. Yes, we will give you this, we will give you that, but we want your rights. So basically, when they take all your rights because they're giving you stuff, guess what? You're in a communist society, and I'm going to do a video later where I'm actually going to bring a colleague of mine who actually grew up in Soviet era Russia and was there for the fall of the Soviet Union. Um, and we're going to get his take on how that was. Now, the question is, are you really prepared for the truth? And you really need to be prepared because the media is lying to you. Point blank, period. In college, one of my professors once told us, do not get your information from one source or just the American mainstream media. You got to get it from multiple sources. And the fact that the media has been lying and misleading people and have been caught, basically, they have been caught. Point blank, period. They have been caught. Um, and they were caught being very biased in this last presidential election. Um, and they are crying right now because, the whole, oh, Russia hacking thing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what the Russian, so what a state organized hacking of the DNC and even some RNC agents, um, operatives happened. That's fine. You know why? Because the media has been doing it the entire time for the Democrats. And they were trying to push Hillary down our throat. Thank God on November 8th, they were proven wrong. And now the liberals are trying anything and everything to stay in power and to push their socialist agenda. So basically, my message to you today is, by God, don't take what they're shoveling as truth. Watch and listen to the underground media. Do your own research into the subject matter. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about fake media. Yes, there is some fake media. That's why I always say research, don't act. And if you deem that action is necessary, call the proper authorities. Don't be a hero, and don't try and go in there and do anything stupid. That's how people get hemmed up in cases, and you know and end up with a criminal record they don't really need. So wake up, folks. Don't stay asleep. Don't just take everything the media is shoveling to you. Heck, they could sit there and tell you everything's fine. Next thing you know, there's a nuclear bomb landing in your backyard. I know that's an extreme, but at the same time, that's the kind of stuff that we are looking at. And it's probably the best analogy I could come up with at this point. But again, they are lying to you. I can't express this enough. You can watch them, you can listen to them because they're radio too. You can even read them in the paper. In fact, a lot of stuff you'll see is regurgitation of what the last person said. You just gotta really pay attention. Do your own research. Look at multiple resources from around the world. I tend to look at everybody's resources. My parents always told me there are two sides to every story. So yes, I'm going to look at, if there's a story about, for instance, Russian hacking. Yes, I'm going to look at what our media is saying. both mainstream and underground. But I'm also going to look at BBC, Russian media, um, media outlets coming out from all over the world, seeing what they're saying. Because I always like to say, I only believe 50% of what I see and 0% of what I hear. And the reason for that is because if you believe what you hear, then you're doomed to fall for anything. So do your research, because between all the bullshit on every side, if you weed out the bullshit, if you're able to weed out the bullshit through your research, in the middle of all that, you'll find the truth. And while the mainstream media is trying to demonize conservatives and the right wings, trying to say they're extremists and this, that, and the other, meanwhile, they're trying to make you think that bringing Islamic jihad terrorists into the country who are posing as refugees, the government's building camps that they're trying to send people to, say, in the case of an emergency. Don't believe me? Look what happened with Katrina in the Superdome. Then you have, besides those two instances, you have a lot of instances where this global elite is actually sitting there telling you, we're taking over, and we're trying to take your rights, but you guys elected Donald Trump, so we're going to do everything we can to discredit him and basically legitimize his presidency before he ever gets into office, and basically making it harder for him. So when you wake up, you'll get an eye opener. But please, 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 I cannot stress it enough. Do your research and don't believe everything you hear or see. Do your research. So that's what I'm going to tell you now. Don't take my word for it. Do your research. Open your eyes. Keep an open mind, and you'll find the truth. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and keep us tuned in. We got great information about survivalism and prepping here on this channel, and I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Again, just remember, liberals and socialists do not like preppers. They do not like you to be self-sufficient. They do not like you to be self-reliant. They want you to be reliant on them. It's easier to get rid of you that way. And I don't mean in a good way. So just keep an open mind, do your own research, and prepare yourself.